Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Proving Grounds OQ number 2 Team Reveal Show. I'm Matt Cubby Samuelson, and joining me, a couple of podcast guests that we usually swap some seats around with, but this time around, it's good to at least be joined with some familiar company. I've got Sam Smacks Hyde joining me, along with Mark, Rafa, Alexander Armbide. How'd I do there, Rafa? Not bad?
Not bad, you know.
Okay, yeah. Not as used to, introducing you. Usually it's the other way around, but yeah. I'm glad that we could at least, get a pass going. And welcome everyone that usually tunes into Amateur, as well as those coming in from the LCS viewership as well. What are we doing here? Well, we should probably get into explaining that. The Proving Grounds, of course, this is the tournament that runs below the LCS. It's the culmination event where amateur and academy teams come together, each split, to see who are the best squads that we have outside of the 10 franchise teams that we just saw compete all day. And this is where we get to dive into the second OQ. Of course, in OQ, teams from across the region, I should say, free to compete and try and qualify for Proving Grounds as an amateur squad. And we get to see exactly what kind of teams we have coming out to our second OQ. Really looking forward to seeing that. And guys, any thoughts diving into this? We've seen the seeds. Anything that we're excited to share as we move on through?
We got some spicy new teams, I think. It's no surprise that there is a new partial incentive to be in this tournament now. The Champions Queue is intertwined with it, and I think some of the players around North America have definitely gotten wind of that and are trying to get into this tournament as well because of that, and also just because they want to get back in competition.
I am just excited to see all the new teams because I think there's a couple in here that weren't in last qualifier during the past couple of months, which it always brings up the new seeds of competition, right? But then, of course, we're going to be seeing some returning faces as well as some teams that, if you haven't heard of them by now, you probably, this is your first time in amateur, as we have a lot of people joining us from the LCS stage, as well as anyone just kind of watching the top of the League of Legends esports ecosystem in NA. But here in the grassroots scenes, this is where all the talent and all the future NA stars come from, baby. So you got to make sure you're paying attention because there is one particular team that won the last qualifier, and you better be paying attention to the name right now because you know that in 2 years, they will be on the LCS stage, guaranteed.
Yes, and that is actually where our team reveals are going to start. Of course, we know the seeding at the end of this hour. You will as well. And I must say, things are rather interesting when it comes to some of the seeding. I think we're going to have a lot of people caught by surprise. A couple of the seeds that we have and a couple of new squads that we may have. But before we dive into that, what exactly is the format of this Proving Grounds OQ? Well, we have a video to queue up so you guys can learn along with us.
Welcome to the Proving Grounds Circuit Qualifier number 2, presented by Unified. 32 teams will face off in a 5-round Swiss Open qualifier to decide who will advance to the 16-team group stage. The Swiss format matches teams with the same record against each other as the rounds progress, meaning in round 2, the 1-0 teams will play each other while the 0-1 teams play each other, and so on. The 16 teams to reach 3 wins by the end of round 5 will move on to compete in groups, where they will be seeded based on their records and play in a best-of-3 double elimination bracket to decide who will advance to the playoffs. The playoffs will be single elim best-of-3 matches up until the grand final best-of-5 series. Teams will earn points based on their overall performance. Here's how the numbers break down. The top 10 amateur teams across the 2 tournaments will qualify for Proving Grounds. Got it? Good. The action starts soon, so make sure you catch all the games at twitch.tv/academy and the Unified Twitch channels. Which of these aspiring champions will rise to the top in 2022? Come see for yourself.
So that's what we have going on in amateur, as we're trying to figure out those teams that will be competing alongside all of the academy squads we have in Proving Grounds. But now, first off, we have to figure out the teams that are competing in our open qualifiers. As of course, we have 16 teams that will be playing in the bracket, but we have 32 teams that are fighting to be in some of those spots. And guys, sometimes the seeding, we're going to start from seed 32 to first, but before we do that, I think we have to honor our returning champions in 100 Thieves next, as that's going to be our first team reveal. Guess what? They are our number 1 seed yet again, guys, and they were nothing but dominant in the last OQ.
You can see them at the very top of the table here in terms of the points as well. A lot of teams got quite a few points over the last tournament as well. As you can see, 100 Thieves, 125. They got 25 from the OQ, winning all 5 of their best of ones, and then a flat 100 from winning the entire thing. Second place in that tournament was Golden Guardians Academy. They don't actually get any points because they are on a different scale on Academy side of things. So after that, it goes down to Immortals, Winthrop, EG Prodigies, and so on and so forth. I'm sure that we'll be seeing a lot of these names as we go through all the teams. And like Cubby said, 100 Thieves, rightfully so, taking their place at the top.
And yeah, they are our number 1 seed. Go figure for the second OQ as well. So congrats to 100 Thieves next, of course. Only dropped one game, I believe, throughout their run. And yeah, it was rather impressive. Of course, General Sniper in the top lane as well, a name that I think many people will recognize on that squad. And Rafa, I know a team that, while you weren't involved in the last amateur tournament, you were really excited to watch as well.
I was trying to do my best to keep up with the circuit, right? And 100 Thieves next. I mean, this organization has already made a huge name for themselves in breeding and being able to bring up and cultivate some of the next big NA superstars. Going back to 2020 with its first ever class, we saw Tenacity, Kenvi, Copy, Otto and Poom, and then later Yon and Otto all come up into the Academy system during the next year. And now we have people like Poom, who is on CLG, the LCS squad at the moment. We have Kenvi on 100 Thieves Academy, who many think should already be in LCS. Tenacity is basically swapping games with Someday on 100 Thieves LCS squad in the starter squad with them as well. And already, 100 Thieves Next is consistently just bringing so many talented and new stars for North America right now. This class currently, General Sniper, Fnatic, Insanity, Array, and Sword. Already super bright futures, I imagine, that are going to get Academy spots very soon, either next split or next year.
Yeah. And for Sword as well, if you've been watching the Academy games up until this point, you'll know that Sword was subbing in for Busio. They did win a good chunk of games with Sword on the roster. I believe they went 5-3 in their first couple of weeks. Very impressive stuff. I think Sword definitely has shown that he is filling into the support role very well. Unfortunately, this does mean that we have to say goodbye to Dawnbray on this roster, who did fill in very well, like you mentioned, Cubby.
Yep.
They've only lost a single game. But now everyone is here that was intended to be on the roster from the beginning without any visa issues and all of that. So this should be 100 Thieves next at peak performance, which is kind of scary considering they're already at the top here in the Proving Grounds qualifiers.
And, of course, we have talked about their roster. We do have that card to fly, as they are going to be the first team revealed as the number 1 seed. We really can't sing their praises enough, as they have been nothing but impressive throughout their run. And guess what? Arguably, with Sword, they might have gotten even stronger as we dive into this second OQ. And you can also see something that's going to be interesting to watch out for with a lot of these teams is actually the fact that we have subs. So Mist, of course, being a coach sub, Keel being a sub as well. Fun fact, if you're a sub and you do qualify for the top 16, you get access to Champs Queue.
And for those of you who remember Academy and last year as well, you'll remember Keel. He was on Counterlogic Gaming Academy. And yeah, he's stepping in just as a sub. I imagine that he likely won't play too much, but, you know, Fnatic has been known to have an internet outage or two, so Keel there on the roster
No,
in case that happens.
Oh, that's a throwback.
Oh, my God. Why you got to do him dirty like that? That was a different time.
Yeah, that's a
That was
throwback.
last year, 2021, old news. 2022, this is the rise of Fnatic, not only through on 100 Thieves Next, but also with better internet and no technical difficulties this time around.
All right, well, this is not a team that I think many people are surprised about when it comes to our number 1 seed, but the rest might be a surprise to quite a few people. We have some returning teams, some new lineups, and it's about time we start diving into that as our 32nd seed, the first team and we're going to announce it, unveil University of Toronto Blue.
They played in the first qualifier as well,
Yes,
so
they did.
you'll recognize some of these names if you got to watch them play. Unfortunately, they did not qualify in the last one, but they're trying their hand at it again.
Yeah, and we're going to have to see if they can have any more luck. Of course, this is a collegiate roster, not the only one that will be competing in this event. But up next, we have another team to unveil. We're going to start moving through these a little bit more quickly. This is going to be an amateur squad, Rafa. The longest yard. Oh, a fun logo as well.
Wow.
A bowl of fruit.
It's a fruit bowl. Is this like an ode to Super Sunshine Fruit Basket Warriors from
It might
last
be.
year?
Potentially. I will say that this is a roster that has some familiar collegiate names in
Yeah.
it. Mordio being a jungler that subbed in for Winthrop.
Yeah, he was top 4.
That top forward in the last split. And then Tiesom, of course, with St. Louis University. A lot of people might not remember Gillette, and I would not blame you if you did not. He's a player that I actually played against when I was playing in collegiate, as he hails from Robert Morris University, that first scholarship program in the nation. Yeah, the mid laner. So that's a name I've not seen in a long time, and is good to see back, because he was actually a very talented mid laner back then.
I have to say, before we move on to the next team, I'm a little disappointed that this team is called the Longest Yard, and nobody on the team is calling themselves Adam Sandler.
All right.
Well, Rafa, you understand that reference, and I don't.
I'm surprised about that, Rafa. I appreciate that. You might understand this next reference, Smacks. Winston Kings of Amateur will be our next team, as I guess they just love Winston.
Wow.
Yeah, I like
Look at
Winston
this
as
logo.
well. Yeah, it's a very nice logo. Some fine word art there. I believe that is amateur inside the cloak right there as well. You can see that just barely. Some old heads, I'd say, in the amateur space here, gentlemen, as we've got Sudsy in the mid lane and Fetrix as well. Both these guys played in the Proving Grounds last year. Sudsy went a little bit further on a team called Revival back in the day.
Yep.
I say back in the day, it was like a year ago. They did place second in one of the qualifying tournaments, only second to No Org. Surprise, surprise. So big shout outs to Sudsy there.
Yeah, and also Good Boy in last year's Scouting Grounds this past year.
True.
Both Good Boy and Clarice, actually. They were both on the... Or not Scouting Grounds, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Clarice being the... I want to say... Dignitas Mirages?
Yep, that would be it.
marksman?
Yep.
Yeah.
So good to see Clarice back, and Fectrix also spending some time with that roster as well. But moving on to the next team. C29, another collegiate squad, York Lions.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I don't recognize a lot of these players, but that's a good thing, because we've got a lot of these teams in here to see if they can be competitive with the top of the table, or just to get into that top 16 as well. So best of luck to these guys.
All right, moving on. Next one, the 28 seed, one that I know that you're actually somewhat excited about, Smacks.
Yeah.
It's going to be No Name.
Yo!
So we actually, this is the only roster in the entire set of 32 teams that has women on the starting roster, Ayukura and Yumichi on this team. So very, very exciting
dope.
there. We've also got Julian, who's been around for quite some time in support, and one of the managers of this team as well is my good friend Ryoklu Tiff. So rooting for these guys.
Ayukura is definitely one of my most hyped prospects and players for amateur this year. She, during the Supergirl Gamer Pro tournament, I know thanks to both Space Ghost and King is telling me about that tournament and run, and also talking with Muramina, Ayakura is cracked, guys. Like, she is so damn good, and I want to see how she continues developing now that she's playing against a wealth of talent, and she has to prove herself among other very, very tough opponents.
Yeah, we're going to have to see how they perform along with everyone else. Want to keep the show moving forward, though, as up next, a name that's near and dear to my heart, we have the Pandy Pandas. And they have... oh, okay, never mind. Not a fan anymore. They stole our logo at Academy.
Why do they have the Academy
So I'll
logo?
tell you why they
Wow,
have the
this
logo. The reason The reason that they have this logo is because the original one featured a little creature from one of the largest video game franchises of all time, and we did not want to get in trouble.
So they just stole ours. I get it. I've been there. Yeah. Anyway, Pandy Pandas, big fan of the name, and we're gonna have to see if we can be a big fan of the team. We'll keep things moving forward, though. Once again, more familiar name to some people that might have followed Amateur, Zodiac Esports.
These guys also played in the last qualifier too. Didn't quite get too far, but one of the nice things about playing in the last qualifier is all the wins that you got actually did give you Proving Grounds points. So this team does not have 0. They are a little bit ahead of most of the other teams we've mentioned so far. And yeah, they're again trying to see if they can get a little bit further this time around.
And up next, we have the 25th seed, which will be No Ace. Hoping to find some more aces across the Rift. And Rafa, I know that you're oohing and eyeing because this team did compete in the last OQ and a familiar duo in the top side with Topo and Kitsuo.
There's also arguments, actually, in the mid lane. And I have a personal close relationship with Kitsuo, and I've known him since 2018. And when there's a amateur team last year that Kitsuo was on, and even though it didn't work out, Kitsuo said that he was super excited about bringing arguments into amateur because he has a lot of high expectations for this player to go far, and it's been one of his favorite mids to play with. And Kitsuo has played with a lot of really good mid laners in the past, so I have some really high ceiling expectations for No Ace, but I haven't seen the team fully come together quite yet, so hopefully they'll have better results going into this open qualifier.
And with that, we have now introduced our first 8 teams that will be competing in the OQ. So we get to take another look. Of course, we have a long way to go, and these will be the teams that, of course, the OQ, it will be a Swiss bracket, which means that everyone, I believe the magic number is 3 wins. 3 wins, and you are in. So the 32 seed will be teeing off against 100 Thieves next for the first match, and then from there, we kind of let the Swiss and bracket and the seeding decide our upcoming matches. Of course, those will begin Monday around 3 p.m. Pacific time.
Valentine's
so make
Day.
sure, yes, Valentine's Day. And guess what? There's nothing that I love more than amateur League of Legends in the North American scene. So I will be tuning in.
Don't tell my spouse, but League of is my Valentine this year.
Yes, it's sad times. We should probably not spend any more time on this and move on. So you have more teams to introduce. One that Rafa might even recognize next. We have Glaive Esports Prime.
Oh yeah. They actually had their amateur, or for a lot of these players, started competing in the Proving Ground circuit last year near the, I want to say towards this end of summer. A lot of these players like Zadix and Diomar, I've seen since my first early days into 2018, bouncing around a lot of the other leagues like Risen Champions, for example. And I think this team is pretty exciting because these players have been in it quite some time, and they've always had the hunger to push for more. They haven't necessarily reached that high of a ceiling quite yet, but you know, hunger can always be the driving force to push a team over the top.
I'm pretty excited for these guys.
Yeah, and one of the fun things about amateur is that oftentimes we do have orgs that come together and actually surprise a lot of people in these tournaments. I know that we did have the case of that last year with the team that I will wait to talk about, as they are going to be announced later in the OQ. But to keep things moving, we have another university squad coming up next, the 23 seed Grandview University.
Yeah, these guys were so close to getting into the last qualifier. I know you remember this, Cubby. They were They were 2-2 against Supernova. They were up about 10,000 gold, and then they let it all slip against Jinx Corki. It would be really tragic, I think, if they don't make it into this time. I have a lot of high hopes for these players. I think specifically their bottom lane duo stands out to me really highly. I've been watching a lot of Aaron's streams recently, very entertaining, but also I just think he's a very mechanically sound player, and I know Pluto is a personal prodigy of yours, Cubby.
Not anymore. But Pluto, of course, I did coach over at Miami University of Ohio. Shout out to them. And Grandview, this is a team that I think was close to making it, and now we'll be looking to try and break through that wall in this one. Dre here, a coach that has also worked with teams that have qualified for tournaments like this in the past, now at Grandview University, so best of luck to them in the upcoming OQ. But I do not want to stop the collegiate train from moving, as up next we have Michigan Esports.
Mm-hmm. That's my state. Although I am
huge.
I am
you know
right
them?
next to Michigan State University, so
Not as huge.
Yeah, I don't claim them. Those are our rivals.
We'll see if Michigan Esports can put together a better performance in this OQ and try and qualify yet again. Up next, though, we do have Trance's Tyrants, another amateur squad that will be trying to compete and qualify. And another familiar face for me, actually, Kongzai, a collegiate player that plays for Illinois Wesleyan. We have come across. That is, of course, a sub, but their starting five will be trying to qualify as well.
Does look like the other sub is the namesake for the team, too. So that's pretty
huge. I don't know how you can be a tyrant if the namesake is a sub, but maybe that just makes them all the more alpha. So we'll have to see if they can bring that to the Rift. Up next, another team that was really close to qualifying in that last OQ, as of course we are in these 8 seeds outside of the top 16. Going to be Redbird Esports.
Big fan of Drew Dozer on this roster. And I'll make the same jokes I did last time. You got to ban Zillion against this team, so that's always a nice bonus you get in draft.
Well, I wonder if Drew Dozer still can play Volibear mid from the old days. That's a fond memory I still have of him battling against Robbie Bob Silas. And this is like old Volibear, not the reworked Volibear.
The flip one?
Yeah, the flip. And then you pop the ulti, and normally the Chain Lightning doesn't do that much damage, but when Silas stole that ultimate and had a ton of AP, that Chain Lightning just AoE one-shot people, baby. So, but Drew Dozer, not only known for his Katarina gameplay as well, but he has really leveled up and improved over the past few years, and Drew Dozer has expanded his champion pool as a very formidable mid laner now in the amateur circuit.
Yes, and it's one that we're excited to see. Always is able to bring out unique picks, and you never know when that Katarina is going to emerge from Drew Dozer too. Up next, though, we actually have amateur teams. So amateur teams are allowed to run 2 rosters in this event, and this is the second roster that Wildcard is running, as it is Wildcard Ace.
I think the thing that most people are going to draw their eyes towards, and is a bit of a leak for later, is that Pocus is playing on this team now. Pocus did step in for the main wildcard team when their support Rhino was picked up to play on Team Liquid Academy as a substitute while they're still figuring out visa issues. But now Pocus is on this roster, so we'll get to see who their other support is in due time. Bit of a spoiler that wildcard's going to be later, but I think people probably knew that.
I mean, it was spoiled just now, to be fair.
Yeah.
Also, quite a few of these players do have access to Champs Queue. I know that Jeremy is one specifically that has been playing quite a bit in that. And we're going to have to see if we can see some more good things out of this roster, but want to keep things moving. Up next, another team that we are going to see a little bit more of this time around, see if they can make it. It's going to be Third Party.
And yes, your eyes do not deceive you. The sub 2 is indeed that Mike Young. Nobody is trying to impersonate him. It is the same one.
Don't worry, Mr. Mike. Don't call me Mike Young. Mike Young is getting impersonated here.
Well, to be fair to Mike Young, he was on a part of the finals this past tournament, so we're going to have to see if he can do that in a different way this time around. Exactly, It's one way to get to the finals, being on broadcast. It's definitely the only way that I could do it with my playing career. Mike Young had a lot more success. So to wrap up this second phase of the OQ, the team that I really wanted to tease as the most is someone that really turned a lot of heads in the last OQ, 17 seed, would be Team Ambition.
Yeah. super exciting team. They played some really wacky compositions, as they did make it into the top 16 for the last tournament. Anticipation and Nemesis are both assassin players in the jungle and in mid lane. They both have been pulling out things like the Zed in the jungle, things like the Talon as well. This team has made one change. Nightstar, who was their previous starting AD, is now sub, and they've brought in DK, who is a challenger player from the ladder. This team is looking really exciting, and I think if they can make that playstyle still work in this meta, it'll be really cool, because it was a major shakeup in the last event, and I believe, Cubby, correct me if I'm wrong, but this was the team that took one game off of 100 Thieves Next, correct?
Yes, it was. Well done.
It is
No other team has done this yet. So
yeah, the only team that has taken a game off of 100 Thieves Next. It is quite the feat for Team Ambition.
Yes, and given that they are the 17th seed, but were top 16 last time, there might be some new rosters that we still have not hit yet, as we are going to overview the last 8 teams that we just went over. So now half of the teams are announced. We're going to spend a bit more time on the next 16. And also, for anyone at home, get some words from a couple of the orgs that we wanted to talk to with this OQ reveal show that might have some things to share that will be later, but it's not just going to be you stuck with the 3 of us. But that said, do want to keep things rolling with a team that's named after Rafa's namesake, Nameless Randoms.
What? Man, listen, I don't have to do this show. I can leave. I don't have to put up with this. Oh my god.
Yeah, you know what? Rafa's the Twitter cloud's been getting to Rafa's head. So, sometimes this is how I keep Mark in check. That's
to bring it back.
Rafa, do you have any good thoughts about this team as Nameless Randoms trying to make themselves
No, I
bit
hate
less
you right
nameless?
now. I'm not participating.
Oh god. Yeah, this team did play the last OQ as well. I don't believe that they made it in, just barely. But yeah. Such a great name.
Yeah, we like to have fun here. And I know that this next team is one that Rafa is familiar with and has someone that's very near and dear to Rafa's heart on it. The number 15 seed for us, a team that actually also did rather well and exceeded a lot of expectations in the OQ1, will be University of California Irvine Esports, UCI.
Yes, sir. Cinnamon Bread, for those that... Cinnamon Bread and Barrick, for those that don't remember last year, during the Challengers Uprising Summer Qualifiers, going into the second round of Proving Grounds during the summer, Cinnamon Bread and Barrick took a game off of Golden Guardians Academy. Mm-hmm. And they were on just like a, kind of rambunctious, put together at the last minute amateur team. This wasn't the UCI squad at the time. Barrick was still in high school. Cinnamon Bread still in high school, if I'm not mistaken, Smacks.
I believe so. And what's crazy about that is that this team also beat Golden Guardians in a game in the last tournament this year. So I made the joke at the time that Golden Guardians just has a cinnamon allergy. But yeah, we're hyping up these players for good reason. They play very, very well around their jungler Dwang Pro. And I think this team is really exciting because of that. Their team synergy has been very fun to watch so far. And yeah, they don't have too many changes going into this one. So wishing them all the best.
Yes, we're going to have to see if UCI can put together another good performance like they did in the last one. As we move forward, next team that we have in front of us, another familiar face, the Heart of Amateur, with a bit of a different look this time around, I should say, as I believe they're in the process of swapping out their coach. It is Supernova.
Oh, I actually did not know that. But, yeah. Pretty exciting roster. They played in the last one. Like I mentioned before, a very close nail-biter of a game to qualify for the tournament against Grandview. It'd be pretty funny if that happens again. But yeah, some really exciting players. I know that Ariandel has been grinding it up on the Champions queue right now. I think he's rank 8 right now, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah. For those that are old amateur heads or collegiate heads like us, you'll recognize Ariandel as Descraton back in the UCI days when he was playing over there. He has been actually very, very formidable in the Champions Queue games and been playing alongside and against, and holding his own against the LCS mids in many of those games. And then what I love about the Supernova roster is that it's got a little bit of like old collegiate players, all like some of the best collegiate players from like across the past few years. You know, you have Fire Theft, really well known throughout a lot of bouncing collegiate top lane positions. Now at Arizona State University, joined by Baco, of course, and Pseudo, both from ASU. And then Psycho, I don't remember if Psycho is at a college right now.
No, but formerly of Wildcard and some
That's
of the
right.
dev rosters. And known for Twitch on the ladder. We'll have to see if that does emerge. There is a chance of that throughout this tournament. But guys, as any good host would do during an OQ show, I brought my secret weapons with me in Smax and Rafa, and I'm not the only person that brought secret weapons along to the tournament as the next team, the Maryville Secret Weapon Squad. It is their B team with a couple guests.
Yeah, I was wondering where you were going with that. I believe the only guest on this team is Piecake Lord, PCL up in the top lane.
Back.
He was previously on Resolve in the last Improving Grounds main tournament, actually. They did really, really well in that event. The rest of the members are indeed members of the Maryville School, and they have split up into two teams for a few reasons, presumably, but probably the chief one is that they would only get 7 spots in a Champions queue otherwise, and they think they're competitive enough to play 2 teams, and I personally believe them. These players are really good.
And we're going to have to see if Maryville can push forward with this squad. Of course, they do have another squad that we will talk about later as well. Spoiler, non-spoiler, though. Up next, though, we did tease that, of course, Team Ambitions to get the 17 seed. They were top 16. That means that we might have 1 or 2 more appearances from new squads, as this is a team that did not play in the last OQ. Some of the players did, but not this roster. It is Ginger Turmeric. I guess bringing the spice to our second OQ, as a couple familiar names on this roster: City Witty, DNA, Duo King, coached by Argentum Sky, a couple streamers for subs. Rafa, any thoughts?
So, first of all, it's turmeric, not turmeric.
It's actually turmeric, but we forgot an R.
Sorry, guys. I'm a color caster usually, not a spice caster. But at least, they're bringing the spice. I kind of, I'm trying over here, guys.
Well, I will say...
It was a good pun.
I gave Rafa grief earlier. He's got to give it back. It's easy enough.
Yeah. Have to get the clapbacks. Now, DNA played on Dignitas Barrage last year in the mid lane. And DNA was someone that we had a lot of skepticism on during the early parts of the year, because DNA was very well known as a Syndra player and only good on that champion for the most part. But then he improved his champion pool, was able to expand it beyond just the one champion, and showed some pretty damn good performances throughout the remainder of Proving Ground Circuit. City Witty. Now, my curiosity is this Link? Is going to be playing
Link
as his alternate IGN Link, or is he still playing as City Witty?
I don't know, but those are the same person. And yeah, this is a pretty exciting team. Duo King did previously herald a team with the same name. They had an entirely different roster, some of which are now in Academy, as Concept was playing on that team. So, the Ginger Turmeric amateur to Academy pipeline going strong. See if they can keep that up in this tournament.
Do need to keep on moving forward, as we have teased. A lot of collegiate rosters made an appearance, and this is one that was just outside of greatness in the last OQ. Did make it for our top 16, and one that I was pretty excited about, and am excited to have in our second OQ, that will be Bay State College.
Mm-hmm. Very, very skilled mechanical players. As Cubby mentioned, they were super close to getting into the top 8 bracket, just barely came short there. And yeah, if you watch these guys play, you will know just how skilled each and every one of them is. Been super, super impressed by all these guys. And I know Rafa's a big fan of that mid laner right there, the Xerath aficionado, Serenok.
Yes. Serenok, the Venezuelan sniper himself, pretty much a proficionado on any artillery backline mage, whether it be Xerath, Zoe, Ziggs. That's kind of like his bread and butter when it comes to those mages. It's not necessarily control mages, but backline mages that just pump out tons of damage from far away range. But you also have to look at Beige in the top lane as well, because both of these two, I believe, both are Venezuelan. So as a Latino, I always love being able to see just more diversity from the Latin American community being able to contend with some of the best here in amateur as well.
I always love thinking of Serenok, this like huge, like bulked out man playing Zoe. I think it's a very, very funny mental image.
He is built shredded. Different. Yeah. Serenok is pretty ripped, so you're not far from the image.
Oh yeah, I know he is. That's why I imagine it. He's just like at his keyboard, like that one like big Chad meme. You know what I'm talking about? Like the big muscly guys on the keyboard.
The Giga Chad, yeah. Serenok's
yeah.
pretty much our internal Giga Chad. Something else that's pretty Giga Chad about the squad. All 5 players on the starting roster have hit 1K LP on matters that are not North America. So bringing a couple languages together and players that are talented now in NA, but also have been talented across the world as well. Something I think is very unique about this collegiate squad. But I do want to keep things moving as we have our first LCS affiliate with Radiance once again making an appearance with the same lineup again in this tournament.
Yeah, the Zoomers are back full force. They've got Bluster and Crimson, super young, and then Raheen being the older brother on the roster. Yeah, really exciting stuff. Porsche, of course, still coming off of the really solid collegiate run that he had on St. Thomas, I believe.
Yep.
And yeah, this is a really exciting team. They fell short just barely, similar to Bay State College, actually, of the top 8. But by nature of having these really young players, I think it is their intention to just have them grow as people and as players all throughout the year. And I firmly believe that this roster has the capability of doing that. I mean, Crimson and Bluster have been a really standout mid-jungle duo so far from what we've seen.
All I'm saying is I want to see more Yone and Yasuo from Crimson, because I have seen a couple of Tyler 1 tournament matches firsthand where Crimson played. I was like, okay, I know you're known for these two swordsman characters. Where are they? And he's playing Syndrome. It's like, okay, cool. You developed your champion pool. Great. But where's the swordsman gameplay? Come on,
play
bro.
Tryndamere. That counts.
No.
I mean, personally, he did look pretty good on the Tryndamere, and if you guys are a fan of young NA talent...
You guys are not getting the point. Tryndamere is like, whatever. There's nothing exciting about it. You're on Dying Rage, whatever. But Yasuo, pause it, bro. You have to go for the flashy plays.
Rob is a simple man.
I do want to say, just to remind and bring back to something that Cubby said about Radiance, this is our first LCS-affiliated amateur team on the list, because Radiance, although we don't show it on the graphic, is associated with Dignitas. They've partnered together, and so that creates a nice little funnel of talent in their network.
Yeah, and if you guys at home are a fan of young NA talent, Porsche, 17, Bluster, 16, and Crimson, 15. And of course, Crimson is the twin brother of General Sniper and little brother of Viper, now heralding from TSM Academy. So a lot of things to be excited about with this roster. Gonna have to see if they can make it further into the tournament this time around. But the last team we're going to be talking about for our third set of 4 is going to be Taco Gaming.
One new player on this roster, at least a starting roster, is Rovex stepping in for Gweiss.
Yes.
As I believe he is just taking a break. He is not on any of the rosters, so I'm wishing Gweiss all the best. He did perform pretty well, but Rovex now, previous collegiate mid laner, steps in and is now the duo lane partner of Lynx.
This was interesting as well because Rovex, of course, being a mid laner, but also for a time was playing on Supernova as a sub, but would sometimes get put in at support to play Braum or play Senna pairings, and so this might be a more permanent addition for Rovex playing support. And of course, the subs my eyes actually go to Quacker, someone that I think has been a really strong top laner. Comes from Collegiate as well. Of course, Cozy, currently in the Collegiate system. But I'm wondering if we could see any Quacker games. That's always something that excites me. And this team, a lot of it's about the mid-jungle duo in Trickster and Doxa. And they beat a lot of teams in the last tournament playing through those two. So we're going to have to see if they can do it again. That does wrap up our third set of 8 as we get to take a look at where we're at so far. Of course, only 8 more teams to go. And, yeah.
Getting to the best of the best here, boys.
A lot of names. Yeah, there's a lot to process. I will say, Maryville's Secret Weapon Squad, I guess that's just too long of a name to be all caps. So,
yeah, it looks like it.
Maybe the planning behind that secret weapon, not as alpha as the rest, or maybe it's the exact opposite. Who knows?
They used their caps lock budget in their top laner's name, PCL.
Yeah. But guys, as we get into the top 8, we did want to catch up with a couple of the teams. And the first catch-up that we are going to have is after we announce our 8th seed, which is Wildcard Gaming.
Mm-hmm. And as I mentioned before, they have a new support, and it is Blossoms, one of the members from the Dare roster that played in the last qualifier that took the hearts of many. They were just a bunch of youngsters who hadn't really played competitive before, all came together and made a pretty spectacular run. Blossoms finds his way onto the Wildcard Gaming roster as a fresh new face with a bunch of guys who've been around for quite some time. Alorum Griffin and Strompus, of course, being referenced there. And on the sub roster, they've got Solaria, which I'm really excited about. She was on the desk with us for the last event, but now she's playing, potentially.
Correct. The other sub, too, also huge hype around because, yes, it is good for this roster to have someone like Griffin who, a lot of experience being both in Academy and LCS through the pipeworks of CLG, but Maddie is someone that I've also been super excited about as a jungler for a very long time. Has role swapped between both jungle and bot lane over the past 3-4 years that I've known him, but on the Supernova roster was a part of that squad that took down CLG Academy, prevented them from qualifying into the Summer Proving Grounds tournament, and was able to... It helped the org basically get their first ever Proving Grounds qualify in ever that year.
Yes, and it's something that we will have to look out for. But to get more info on Wildcard Gaming, I actually want to go straight to the source and potentially have a chat with their coach, Lucian, but I'm getting word that we're going to have that delayed real quick as we're going to try and get Lucian in, talk about more when it comes to this roster. But guys, the three of us, one of the teams that we want to start talking about a little bit more in Wildcard. I know that the last tournament they had to have a change-up at support halfway through the tournament as Rhino was picked up by Team Liquid Academy. And this time around, changing the support completely in Blossoms, someone that we're going to learn a lot more about throughout the tournament.
Yeah. Like I said, Blossoms played really, really well on Dare. Was one of the big driving forces for them making that big run. From the gameplay, of course, I actually have not heard what the comms were like on that team, but maybe we'll get to hear from Lucian about how that went for picking up Blossoms for the team.
Yes, do want to sit down and talk and hear more from the source himself. So do want to bring in the head coach of Wildcard Gaming. That is going to be Coach Lucian. Excited to catch up with him, see exactly what's going on with Wildcard itself. And guys, we've got Coach Lucian. Hello. Coach Lucian, how are you? It's good to see you. Congrats on the 8th seed for this event. Did want to just start talking with you about your thoughts with how the last OQ went for you and your squad. I know that it wasn't the result that you exactly wanted. Of course, you were dealing with swapping out a support mid-tournament. But what were some of your thoughts that you saw from your squad throughout that first OQ?
Well, I think the main thing I saw was inconsistency in a lot of our games. I do think we are a really good team when we're playing at our best, and I think we showed that in the first game when we played against Winthrop in the top 8. But we were inconsistent when we were in the qualifiers, and that really showed through that tournament. And obviously we had a support swap, and we have another one here too. But that's no excuse for the position we're in.
Yeah, that is something I wanted to ask you about as well. Of course, Blossoms, that Dare team that was a huge surprise in the last tournament, went from being a 20th seed in the OQ to making it, almost making it into the top 8. Blossoms, someone that was the support for that roster. What was that process like bringing him into your squad, and what are some of the highlights that you've seen from Blossom so far?
Well, as a team, we were originally planning to be having Pocket Rhino back for the second tournament. And we had gotten an update that it wasn't proceeding like that, and that it was going to be a little bit more time and could potentially be, much longer. So we reassessed our situation and tried to look around at the available options for support and to see if we wanted to continue going with Pockets or if we wanted to get him back to Aces where he was originally planned to be and see if we couldn't pick somebody else up. And we were really impressed with how Dare and their bot lane performed throughout their tournaments. And obviously we played against them in the open qualifier, so we thought it would be a good fit. And we tried him out in some of our scrims. He really fit into the team. The players liked him a lot. And so we just felt confident with it going forward. And so we made that decision to bring Blossoms in.
Yeah, definitely a player that we're excited to see. It's someone that we're trying to learn more about along with everyone else that's tuned in. As for the second OQ, of course, Wildcard, top 8 still positions you all right in the standings, but I know that everyone's pushing for that top 10. From what you see kind of with you guys and some of the competition and the changing meta, what are some of your expectations going into this tournament with this set of 5?
Well, a big thing that we've been trying to hammer home is just finding what our team's identity is and how we're going to play the best. So we've been going through a lot of scrims trying to figure that out, as well as build up our synergy with Pockets with Blossoms, and find out how he's going to fit into this new team environment and how he's going to perform. So we put a lot of effort and focus into that. And we actually like how the meta is looking for us. We're really confident on a lot of different picks, and we've had a lot of good performances from different members in our team. So we think we're going to have options that teams are going to struggle to deal with. We're going to pull a lot of bans, and I think we're going to play a game that really suits us.
Yeah, can always count on a team with Halorum on it to find ways to have a different pick ban and draw some of those bans as well. Right. So thanks so much once again, Lucian, for joining. Just wanted to open the floor up to you before we let you go. Any thank yous or shout outs you'd like to give?
None that specifically come to mind. Thank you to Wildcard for letting me be a part of this team and be the head coach for the spring and summer splits. And thank you to the staff that's been working with us. We've been working through with a lot of different staff members and pieces, and to the players who are working through the moving parts and trying to get as much as we can as a team. So watch us as we move through this tournament. I think we're going to have a lot of good performances, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Thanks so much again, Lucian. You can follow him at Coach Lucian. Of course, follow Wildcard as well. Wildcard GG is going to be looking to do their best going into the second OQ and try and break that top 4 as well. That's a big goal for you guys, of course. So, yeah, thanks again.
All right, thank you.
All right, guys. I know that Wildcard, one of the amateur orgs that we have high expectations for, is they made Proving Grounds both splits last year. Get to hear from the coach to hear how they can try and make that happen yet again. Of course, that top 10 in the points is what every team is gunning for. And good to hear from Coach Lucian as the roster has had some early changes in the season, but they're still pushing forward and trying to make it as high up in the standings as they can.
Yeah, I'm always excited for Wildcard. I think they always put forth a really exciting roster since the time that I've known this team, since back in 2020. So I'm really glad to see that they are they're thinking heavily about what these changes are supposed to be. And even though they knew that this support problem with Rhino not being there in a timely manner was a possibility, I think their plan moving forward has been really smart.
And if you want to put your faith into someone, you got to put faith into Lucian. His pedigree and his coaching expertise and experience from the past 2-3 years. I mean, it's a long list of some of the most successful teams in amateur history. Resolve, Barrage, the first Radiance roster, if I'm not mistaken, as well, with players like Cat Evolved, Odd Orange, Flares, Jurassic, and Winter. Oh, man, one of the most goated rosters of all time.
Yeah, of course, Wildcard was the only amateur org that qualified, non-LCS amateur org that qualified for Proving Grounds, both splits last year. But Lucian would have done it as well with that Barrage/Resolve roster, as they did have a name change and an org change. But he was able to achieve that as well. So put your faith in Coach Lucian. And Wildcard, always something that has been something that amateur fans can count on in the past, and we're going to have to see if we can do again this year. But I do want to move into talking about our next seed, as it is going to be Winthrop University.
Yes. Winthrop, this team hit top 4 in the semifinals of the last qualifier. And wouldn't you know it, Frost Forest is back from his academy excursion, helping out Cloud9 for the time being, as they were also facing some visa issues. He's back on his Winthrop University roster. And to me, this team is looking better than ever. I think Ivano and Mabud specifically stood out to me a lot. And I think Vex played the best tournament that I've ever seen him play in the last qualifier here for Proving Grounds. So Frost Forest is coming back to a team that is on fire in the collegiate space and in the amateur space too.
He also got some pretty damn good experience playing on Cloud9 Academy alongside other fellow subs Lawrence and Ketog, and they managed to take some games as well with the Cloud9 Academy roster, with some of the starters in Copy and King as well. So Frost Force getting a lot of experience, getting a lot of just valuable insight in how the higher level competition plays out. Frost Force coming back to Winthrop University. I'm just based on what some of the other players and some of the people in the academy scene have said, that Frost Force is by far one of the most intelligent junglers they've ever seen, and really understands the game at a high level and thinks about it well. And if he's able to communicate that back onto his original squad with Winthrop University, this team is going to go insanely far in the next open qualifier.
Yeah, and that's something that we're going to have to see if Winthrop can do, and something that we also want to talk with one of the members of Winthrop himself about whether or not they can do that. As speaking of the Devil, am going to be joined shortly by Frost Forest himself to see exactly what he is doing as he rejoins Winthrop from that C9 squad.
Yeah.
Oh, what's up? All right, we got Frost Forest Jacob with us. Frost Forest, very good to see you again, and just wanted to get some of your thoughts, as of course you weren't in the last PG event, as you were actually subbing in with Cloud9 Academy. What was that experience like for you, and what were some of the things that you picked up in your time there?
I had a really good learning experience playing for Cloud9. I think it was easy for me to come in because knowing I was a sub, knowing that I would be playing around like Copy and King, because I wouldn't be around for that long. So I think it was nice being like a supporting role for once and understanding like what I could do to help them, like benefit them most. And it was also nice working with like two of my former teammates, Lawrence, for example. We played in Harrisburg, and Tails, my former coach. It was really nice playing with both of them again.
Yeah, it's good to see you guys pick up some wins there, even with that 3-man sub squad that was hopping in while Korea 9 was making their way over. Now, Frost Forest, you're back with Winthrop. You guys were collegiate champions last year. I know that it's a little bit of a different roster this time around, but what are some of the things that excites you about being back with this team for this event?
I think what excites me is that they've been doing so well, and that, even for all of it all, we still don't have a coach, and that we can really have like high potential regardless of whether or not we're working together really hard, working really hard. Maybe some people more than others, but don't sleep on us, because I feel like we're gonna level up more as we play together. Because I'm just coming in from the other jungler Mordio, so I'm hoping that I can bring what I learned from Cloud9 to help better develop these players, and maybe support them to make them even better, or help them support me.
Yeah, and I know that when it comes to your play in amateur, of course, that collegiate championship was huge for Winthrop this past year, as you guys took down Maryville to do so. But you were so close as a university as well, qualifying for Proving Grounds in the spring. Also very close yourself with TSM Amateur in the summer. What's going to take from you and Winthrop this year to make it to Proving Grounds and make it to that top 16 this time around?
I think it's going to take a lot more effort. I think that if we hold each other accountable, if we focus up, hold each other accountable, and understand that this is what we need to do in order to win. Like, if everyone's improving and working just as hard as everyone else, I think that we have just as much chance as any other team, and that hopefully we can repeat our performance from top 4, the last Proving Ground qualifiers, and maybe go even higher.
It was a heck of a showing from you guys last time around. Looking forward to seeing a heck of a showing from you guys this time around. Before that you go, Jacob, any thank you, shout outs you'd like to give?
Yeah, okay, for sure. I want to shout out our manager, Taco. He's best manager. I really appreciate him. Like, he's helped us immensely, and I appreciate him. Follow all our players. Me as well. I guess this is my Twitter, Frostforce. Support the WinFrop boys. Frops out as they call it, and let's we'll see you up at the top, I guess.
Well, we're going to have to see if you guys can get to the top. And Frostforce, thanks so much for taking time out of your day to join me as well. And hopefully we get to see you back in some Champs Queue, too. As, of course, Top 16 gets everyone some access to that Champs Queue. I know everyone's gunning for that, too.
Yep, hopefully I can keep Grandmaster.
All right. Good to see you, man. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for joining. Peace.
All right. Frostforce interview wrapped. Rafa, I know it's always one that makes you jealous when you can't join him, but... always good to hear from Jacob Chan.
Rafa, you're muted.
Oh, no.
God, I was about to say some wholesome shit, on the oh, and I didn't beep it. See, now I'm all over the place. We gotta love you, Chan. Utah engage, baby. Don't let the haters say otherwise. Let's keep going.
You know what? He did just say Throps out, so I think you can let that slide.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it is a Winthrop chant, and something that anyone that's followed amateur or collegiate is probably familiar with at this point, so we like to keep that one going, have some fun. Speaking of keeping things going, going to move on to the next team in our reveal show, as we have the number 6 seed, another university, this time Maryville University joining us, and their lineup this time around, given the fact they are running 2 teams, a little bit different.
They've got APA on the main roster now. In the previous event, he was not ready to play quite yet because he had just moved to St. Louis. He had just moved into the school. They were giving him some time to settle. So now that he is here and ready to play, he is on that main roster. And yeah, like you said, Cubby, they've got those 2 with the Maryville Secret Weapons Squad, which means that there won't be any substitutions in the middle of the series anymore. And yeah, this is the roster that you're going to get for all the Maryville games.
Yeah, and as you can tell, Rafa's pretty excited. So, yeah, it's definitely something that we're looking forward to seeing. Is APA, once again, mid-laner, qualified for Proving Grounds, both events last year, and reunited with Odd Orange, as they spent some time together at Supernova, top 3.
2020, baby.
Yeah, a top 4 finish, I believe it was, in the Scouting Ground circuit, so didn't quite make it. APA did make it as an individual. And APA is someone that if you have been following the amateur circuit, probably familiar with. Good to see his name making an appearance yet again here. But to keep things moving, we've got a big surprise at number 5.
Yes.
As our number 5 seed, a brand new squad. Welcome to Bog.
It's
what
bugged.
is this?
That's a dog, Mark.
No! The dog is cute. I'm looking at the roster.
Yeah.
What?
So, first things first, I want to address that the top laner, Dishao, previously went by Zig. He is now going by a variation of his first and last name, as his name is Derek Shao. So it's a little bit of a rebrand. But the rest of the team, you will know by those names. Some of them playing in Academy just last year, some of them playing in Proving Grounds just last year, and some of them coaching in the case of Dishao and Benji.
And Honori a little bit when he wasn't playing.
That's true. And then, of course, we also have RJS on the sub roster, who, by the way, is already in Champions Queue, so he's just there in case they need him.
This roster is stacked. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's a big surprise. And, of course, we did want to hear more from Bog, so we are going to be being joined by one of their members here rather shortly as, pretty exciting to see Champs Queue actually motivating quite a few players to get involved in Proving Grounds. Again, we are still waiting to get...
I want to know about that.
Yeah, I feel like it's got to be a playoff of Mogged, you know? But We will have to talk more about that and everything, but want to do that not with you guys until after. First, want to hear from the team themselves, as we have Benji on the line joining us. All right, hello. Joined by Benji, of course, marksman now for Bogged. And Benji, so I want to ask you guys right off the bat, what motivated you guys to hop in this tournament and the OQ? Of course, you guys were not in the first one, but we now have you for the second.
Just been playing a lot of solo queue, and then they announced Champions queue, and you can't get in unless you're like on a team. Like they're eventually gonna let in solo queue players, I think, but probably not for a while. So. Yeah, I just really wanted to play, so I just like asked a few of my friends if they want to play the open qualifier, and they were down. So
yeah, it's great to see. And what's it been like for quite a few of you, of course, being involved in academy or amateur in various ways this past year, whether that's a player or a coach? But how have you guys like been playing the game like rapidly? Is anyone still trying to get out of that coach mode and back into player mode? What's it been like for you guys coming together?
Yeah, we've just kind of been chilling. We haven't really scrimmed too much yet. I think like we only scrimmed like once, and we played some rank flex. But we've just played the game so much for so long, like it shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, things are good.
Yeah, a lot of confidence coming from you guys. I was requested by Smacks to ask the named Bogged and the photo. What's the origination story, or the origin story, I should say, behind what you guys are going with for this OQ?
Bogged is just like it's a classic crypto meme. He's like on the phone when the chart goes down, and he's like, dump it. And yeah, he passed away recently, so we wanted to honor him by naming the team after him. R.I.P. Bog.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess unfortunate to hear, but hopefully you guys can carry on that legacy throughout the OQ. Benji, just before we let you go, any thank yous, shout outs you'd like to give?
No, I mean, thanks for the interview, and looking forward to playing in the tournament. It's gonna be fun. So, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, and we're looking forward to seeing you guys play as well.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, we got the answer, and a big surprise, as this is a brand new team coming in at the number 5 seed. Of course, a lot of pedigree, ex-professional experience, and sounds like they were rather confident going into this OQ.
Yeah, I think they've got good reason to be. I mean, their top player, Dishao, while he wasn't playing, he was coaching the team that won all of Proving Grounds last year. And yeah, people might not have known about that because he was behind the scenes. He was coaching the team. But yeah, coach of No Org. So a lot of pedigree, as you said, Cubby. I think this team is coming in with a lot of eyes on them. And yeah, even though they haven't played for a little while, I think it's going to be a really fun time seeing them back on the Rift.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they can do, but of course we do have 3 more teams to get through, as of course our 1 seed is 100 next, but want to keep things moving as our 4 seed, another LCS affiliate with a lot of success in amateur. It's going to be Evil Genius's Prodigies.
No changes here, no subs either, as this is a team that performed quite well in the last qualifier. Didn't quite have the same early stride as we've seen some of the previous Evil Genius's Prodigies lineups take. But I think that's a bit unfair to them, as the last year version of Evil Genius's Prodigies did have the entire winter season all playing together. So there is definitely that, but I'm really excited for a lot of these players on this roster. I think Faisal comes in as one of the strongest top lane prospects in the entire league. And yeah, I think very highly of him and a lot of the other players on this team.
Rafa, I know that you've been trying to keep your eyes on amateur, and it's been also contributing to that Mobalytics list. Anything that jumps out at you about EGP from the last tournament, or any hopes going into this one for him?
I still think that Faisal remains to be one of our very hopeful top lane prospects that, alongside the class of Concept and Quacker, I thought were very high on my list of top laners that should be considered for an Academy spot going into 2022. Concept got the nod, is now in Immortals Academy. But I think that now that Faisal is at least in the Evil Geniuses Prodigies squad, he's in the EG pipeline. And I think this is a great way to be set up for success as Evil Geniuses have done. I mean, it's very hard to live up to the legacy that 100 Thieves as an org has established for sending a true Tier 2 pipeline development into their academy and then eventually LCS roster, but I think Evil Geniuses is probably the next best organization to do so.
Yeah, and to be fair to EG, I mean, Danny, they had the better Proving Grounds finish last year when EGP took 5th, 6th, and Danny is the LCS standout now, whereas 100 Next, of course, we have high expectations for that original class, but they're still making their way up. So another very impressive developmental team for EGP, and we have hopes that they can make it to the top 10, as, of course, that is what all these rosters are gunning for. That, and, of course, if you make top 16, Champs Q access, if you have above a Grandmaster rank, something that is definitely motivating. A couple new teams appearing, like Bogged. Upcoming next, though, it's not a team that's new, but a team that's still maybe looking for a name, looking for an identity, and one that we're excited about. It is going to be No Team.
Mm-hmm. Very, very exciting. This roster played really, really well in the last tournament, and a lot of that, a lot of my hype around this comes from their jungler, Griffin. 15-year-old, performed super, super well in a lot of the farming junglers in the last event. He, alongside his solo laners, have really done a great job of breaking apart the rift very early on. I've been really, really impressed by this team, and that's not to throw any shade to their bot lane pair either. I think they've been doing a great job in their own right. Jashuka, previously known as Plux, and Scooped as well. I think I'm just really excited for this team to get back on the rift. I think a lot of people feel the same way.
Both Scooped and Dragoon made an appearance at last year's Scouting Grounds, if I'm not mistaken.
Scooped was not there, but Dragoon was, yes.
And Plux was. That's probably what you're thinking of.
Okay.
2 years ago, yes.
2 years ago.
Yeah. 2 years ago, yes. Team Mountain as a support.
Yeah.
But Smacks, I want you to say the thing. You know the thing that I'm talking about.
I do know the thing. I'm thinking of the thing. It might be a little too loud for this. So what I am going to say instead is that I think based on the logo, this team will have a nice rivalry with Bogged, based on what Benji's story was.
I mean, I was looking at no org for the rivalry. Oh, okay.
That's all I want to see.
That too. That might help.
I don't want to peek any mics, you know. People are just vibing in this evening, you know.
Too bad.
It is post
I'm the
LCS.
agent of chaos here.
Yeah.
You brought me on. You should have known what you were gonna get.
That's my bad.
Yeah.
No regrets, Ralph. I'm glad you're here.
No regrets.
Of course, the second seed and the last team that we have yet to reveal.
Cubby. Oh. We didn't mention 5 Fire's a sub on this team.
Yeah. So we assume that 5 Fire wants Chaps Q access, and I can't blame him. We'll see if 5 Fire plays. We will talk more about that, but it will be something to look out for. And a new coach addition, I believe. Daruk was not helping No Team at the start of the last OQ, but it's now. So good to see this team of, once again, very young, talented players that performed very admirably in the last event. I believe the only losses that this team had were against GGA and 100 Next.
Yep.
So that's a pretty impressive run throughout the tournament for No Team, and especially when your jungler is 15. I thought Scooped had a great tournament last time around, too. Gonna have to see if they can reach back and find some of that success again in this one. We do have one more team to go through that is going to be our second seed of the tournament, and that will be another LCS affiliate in Immortals AOE.
I'm super excited for this team as well, man. This team has one of my highest expectation prospects in the league as well in Meech. Meech has been a phenomenal mechanical player in this year and in last year as well on the Dignitas Mirage roster. Super, super glad to see this team come back. And I think there's a lot of just phenomenal prospects all around here. Not just Meech. I think that bottom lane duo together has been doing a great job. Winston, one of the most aggressive junglers that we have in this tournament as well. Comes through with the the level 2 Jarvan ganks and such like that. Just making sure that Meech gets ahead really early, and that strategy worked really well in the last tournament.
Yep.
It was one of the only strategies they came through. I hope that they bring some more variables to this next tournament too.
I'll chime in as well. Meech and Trevor, one of the most exciting bot lanes that we were really hoping for to come through to really dominate summer proving rounds going into last year. However, Meech and Trevor did not get a chance to play. And we were very high up on Meech's abilities as a marksman to be one of the top ADCs alongside the class of we're now in Academy. Arrow, Wixie, Array is also in that kind of S-tier marksman players as well. So the Meech definitely very high up on my list. But for me, the biggest surprise after watching their first open qualifier circuit round was Anime Girl, because I knew nothing about this top laner, and then suddenly I'm seeing Tom Kench highlight clips, which I never expect to be like something that you highlight or get hyped about, but the way the decision making by Anime Girl in that one particular fight, now I have my eyes on this top laner, and they are still continuing to impress me in ways that I never really expected to be impressed by.
And he doesn't even watch anime.
Wait, really?
That is true, and unfortunate scenario.
I feel betrayed by the IGN name.
Yeah, I might want to work on the branding there for Anime Girl. But hey, as long as the Gwen and Mundo keeps on popping off, that's going to help the cause for Anime Girl and Immortals AoE. And then once again, if you guys missed the top of the show, of course, our number 1 seed will be our returning champions, who only dropped 1 game in the entire tournament last time around. That will be 100 Thieves next, with Sniper in the top lane, Fnatic, Insanity, Array, and Sword this time around joining them. The intended starter for this roster, but of course Sword, as Smacks highlighted beforehand, had to sub in so Busio could finish high school. Busio's now done with high school, so Sword's here.
Yeah, and I heard that even managers get access to Champions Queue, so expect to see Papa Smithy climbing the ladder there.
Huge.
Obviously, that
Papa
is
Smithy
a joke.
bringing back. I know that Papa Smithy played I don't know how much of the Korean solo queue ladder when he was still casting LCK, but I watched some of the streams. He had some pretty dank gameplay back then. You know, can we see Papa Smithy maybe teaming up with the 100 Thieves next, boys, one of these days, just for the content?
I think it is worth saying that Mist was a 5th, 6th Proving Grounds finisher in spring.
That's true.
In that bot lane with Shiro. So now Danny, of course, the OP coach, also filling in as a sub in case they need it. But 100 Thieves next, of course, being our number 1 seed. And gentlemen, we've got to take one last look at the 32 teams that we have, as we have now gone through all of them. I got some good news for fans at home. This isn't the last slide we have. We actually also have round 1 matchups for tomorrow.
Not tomorrow, Monday.
Or Monday, yes.
Don't want to make anyone panic. And
Monday,
think that there are
3 p.m.
games tomorrow.
Pacific. That's where
Super
the party
Bowl,
gets started.
baby.
Yes. There's 2 days from now. You do not have to play tomorrow.
Here we go.
Don't worry. Here are the matchups. So, super exciting stuff. I'm excited for a lot of these matchups. I think that I guess it's not on this roster or on this slide which ones will be streamed, but I think there are some good ones to look out for.
So that is still being decided, but we do have a couple that we are pretty excited about.
Yes.
Personally, I think that Maryville Secret Weapon Squad going up against Redbird Esports, if you're a collegiate fan, it's going to be one that is rather appealing to you. Also Supernova against Wildcard Ace. Both of those teams trying to develop talent in the amateur space. Of course, that is Wildcard's secondary roster, but that's still one that could be interesting to tune in.
We have the matchups, Cubby. The streamed matchups on the Unified channels will be No Team versus Winston, King of Amateur, and also Radiance versus GVU, which is good because that's the one that I was really excited about. I think that one's going to be a really fun matchup.
You know, it's kind of a shame that Winston, King of Amateur, didn't end up being the seed in longest yards plays, because then Winston, King of Amateur, could have been taking on Winston from Immortals AoE, and it would have been like the fanboy team versus the person they're fanboying over. So
you know what? They'll get there eventually, right? Winston, King of Amateur, will win against no team, and then
that's do you want to die on that hill, Smacks?
Probably not.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see.
All right, well, we're going to have to see how all these games pan out. Once again, it is a Swiss bracket for OQs, and I believe all of the OQs will be decided by the end of Tuesday, as it is 5 games for everyone. 3 wins is your magic number, but of course, if you win more, you get a better seed in the tournament. And of course, we did have Jolly with that format video at the start of the stream, explain everything for us as gents. We are now at the end of our day, end of our stream. Any final thoughts before we let everyone go?
I just want to reiterate. Yeah, I want to reiterate because it still seems like we have a ton of people who stayed with us from the LCS stream. First of all, thank you, shout outs to all of you. Welcome to Amateur. Hope you follow this channel and the Academy channel as well, so you can keep up to date with all the Proving Grounds tournaments that are going on throughout the split, and are informed and staying up to date with all the exciting NA talent that we are developing here in the year 2022. We have a lot of high hopes for them. If you are not excited about 100 Thieves Next, I'm going to tell you one more time. 100 Thieves Next, in their finals of last circuit, took down Golden Guardians Academy 3-0. 3-0 sweep. And Golden Guardians Academy are right now solidifying their spot as 2nd overall best Academy team.
After the first round robin. So every team's played everyone. Yeah.
This roster is in beasting mode right now. And the fact that they can beat the 2nd best Academy team goes to show that this roster has so much potential. I have nothing else to say, guys.
Yeah,
I need to sell this point. Please watch this team.
Tune in to Amateur so you can see the new Kings of North America play. A lot of those are going to be on 100 Thieves Next, as Mark said. There's a lot of competition here in all the other teams as well, though. If you thought last tournament was competitive, just you wait. There is going to be some really, really fun matches. And as Cubby mentioned, it'll be 2 days from now on this very channel. So you're not going to want to miss that.
Yeah, guys, thanks so much for joining me. Everyone in the chat, thanks so much for joining all of us once again. I've been Cubby, joined by Smacks and Rafa. And if you want to catch the action, it is 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern on this channel and Unified 2. So give us a follow if you want to keep up. That is, of course, on Monday, Valentine's Day. So if you love League of Legends, you have a place to tune in. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in yet again. Hope you guys, everyone tuning in at home, enjoys the rest of their Saturday, I should say. Tune into all the LCS action tomorrow, and then tune in to Amateur on Monday. I've been Cubby, and thank you so much for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your wonderful night.